Hello, everybody. Welcome to Diego Knows. I am Diego, and today we're going to talk about Batwoman. That's right, Batwoman. Okay, now first and foremost, this is Diego Knows. Usually, I talk about Sex in the City here until I get done reviewing all those episodes, and then I'm going to go start talking about other interests that I have. But I did promise I would talk about Sex and the City, so that's what I do. But this video is going to be different. Okay, I'm actually going to talk about something else. Now, deep down inside, in my own roots, okay, I am a diehard comic book fan. Okay, I always have been. Ever since I was old enough, even before I learned how to read, I looked at comic books just to look at the pictures. As a child, superheroes were such a big part of my life. I loved superheroes. On Halloween, I would dress up as superheroes. And it was the '70s, and superheroes were big in the '70s. They really were. Not as big as they are now. But they were pretty big in the '70s, and kids actually read. We read for fun. We read these comic books, and I learned how to draw. My biggest goal in life was I wanted to be a comic book artist. That's what I wanted to do more than anything else in the whole world. And I became a pretty good artist. Not modesty aside, I'm actually a pretty good artist, but there's no future in it right now. Okay, but when I was a kid, I loved comic books. Spider-Man was my favorite. I started off watching the old Ralph Bakshi shows from the '60s. I watched those reruns, and then of course, when I was a little boy, that's when Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends came out and all that kind of stuff. So I got to watch new episodes. I was really excited. It was a great time to be a kid, late '70s, early '80s. But what we're talking about today is going to be Batwoman. Okay, now yes, I do own this. Okay, this is mine. Okay, I'm not a big fan of Bat. I never read a Batwoman comic books. I have an idea of who she is. Okay, but I'm going to talk about my feelings on Batwoman. Okay, and just what I think about the show in general, the character, and the future of that franchise. Okay, we'll start off with Batwoman. For those of you who don't know, Batwoman was actually created in the 1940s. She was Catherine Kane, or Kate Kane, and she was they wanted to. They got a lot of letters. The comic industry, they got a lot of letters from parents about Batman and Robin possibly being homosexual, and it got even worse, like in the in the '60s. Okay, but in the late '40s and early '50s, there was concerns about maybe Batman and Robin being lovers. Okay, yeah, I know. Okay, now they didn't talk about that in the comic book, although they had hints to it in there. If you really look for it, you're gonna find some hints. Okay, I know that there's this famous panel of Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson waking up in their pajamas in the same bed, and that's like what? Stuff like that. But it was more innocent back then. People weren't thinking that progressive back then like they are today. Okay, but they wanted to dispel the rumors of Batman and Dick Grayson having a possible homosexual relationship. So they invented a character called Batwoman, I guess, Batwoman was some rich woman who I guess became a love interest for Batman. Okay, she put on a bat costume too, and she had a sister, I think, or a niece, I don't know, or a cousin or something. I think it was a sister, but I'm sure one of you knows better than I do. I'm not a huge Batman fan. I love Batman, but I'm not. I don't have a. I have maybe an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree in Batman. Okay, and I've got a PhD in Spider-Man, but Batman, not so much. But anyway, so I know the character, and she came out. I think it was the '50s actually when she was created as a love interest. She was Kate Kane, and she was a heterosexual. She actually had a crush on Batman. She pursued him. He always blew her off, but she pursued him, which didn't help his case of being straight. but she had a Batgirl, the first Batgirl, which was Elizabeth Kane. That was her cousin or her sister, I don't remember, or her niece, something like that. But she was the first Batgirl. It was not Barbara Gordon. Okay, it was Elizabeth Kane or Betty Kane, they called her, whatever. And so it was Batwoman and Batgirl out there fighting crime, and Batman and Robin out there fighting crime, and they were crossed over together, and they dated each other and all that kind of stuff. They finally got rid of that. I think in the '60s they just killed her off or something because I think it was because of the show or something. I don't know. I don't know what the reason was, but they killed her off. They got rid of her. But she looked kind of dumb. She has bright yellow costume with red gloves and red boots and a red bat mask. She had black hair. And Batgirl's costume was kind of dumb too. Okay, but anyway, but that's what it was. It was the '50s. That's the shit they did back then. '40s and '50s. That's what they did. Okay, so that was actually the original Batwoman. Okay, later on. In the 2000s, they created a new Batwoman, which is this one, this piece of shit. Yes, I said piece of shit. Okay, they created her to be a progressive. They wanted to have a prominent LGBTQ character in DC Comics because that was the trend They wanted to start. They wanted to start getting more, more LGBTQ representation in the comic books because I guess they thought there was not enough representation. Now, yes, there are lots of LGBT people that read comic books. I knew several that did. Just like I knew plenty of girls that read comic books too. But I used to go to the conventions, and I went to the comic book shop every Wednesday when the new comic books came out. And I got to make lots of friends with comic book nerds just like me. I've had hours and hour-long discussions with my fellow comic book nerds about shit that you would not probably be interested in. Well, if you're watching this video, maybe you are. But, we would talk about superheroes. We would talk about characters. We would talk about artists, writers, who our favorite superheroes were, who the best teams were, who would win this fight. We would talk a lot, okay? And I'm going to tell you right now, the predominant majority of us that watch this stuff, that follow this stuff, that love this stuff were men. Okay? Like I said, I'm not saying there weren't any gay people that read it. I'm not saying there weren't any women that read it. Okay? What I'm saying is the bread and butter of the industry, okay, was, I wouldn't even say teenage boys anymore. I would say, because the thing with comic books is as the comic books got better, the teenagers, the kids that started reading comic books, they started getting better stories because now the fans started becoming the employees of the comic book company, and they started writing better, more adult stories, more contemporary stories, And so the audience actually got older. They didn't get younger. Comic books started off for little kids, but it ended up being for fucking adults. Yeah, comic books were for adults. Don't believe that fucking bullshit about comic books are for kids. They have not been for kids for a very long time. Okay? Even when I was a kid reading comic books, there was a lot of adult stuff in there that I probably should not have been reading at my age. I mean, we had serial killers and people getting blown away by shotguns in a fucking Spider-Man comic book. Yes, in the 80s, okay? Like the Sin Eater. Yeah, look up that story, okay? And I was reading that when I was a little fucking kid, okay? Yes, about a serial killer's blowing away people with a shotgun. Yeah, I was reading that. No, in a Spider-Man comic book, no less. But the point is that the audience got older, okay? So the predominantly people that buy comic books, at least back in the 2000s, okay, were men. Were men in their 30s, believe it or not, in their 20s and 30s. That was the bread and butter of the industry. Men, straight men. Okay, I wouldn't say white. I mean, there was a lot of white, but I mean, I'm Mexican. There's a lot of Mexican comic book fans. Black comic book fans. I mean, there's all different races and colors and stuff. But predominantly it was men. Okay, so the comic book industry, if they're running a business the correct way, what you want to do is you want to give your customer, but you got to know who your customer base is and give them what they want. Now, I review Sex and the City on this channel, okay? And I'm the first one to admit that show was not made for me. I'm a straight Mexican guy, okay? But that show was not made for me, okay? Which is fine. It wasn't made for me. It was made for women and gay, mostly women, but gay guys as well, okay? So that's who they cater to. They knew that was their audience, and they were making a show for their audience to make their audience happy. And that's why the show was a success, because they were giving their customers what the customer wanted. And that's what comic books used to do. They gave the customer what they wanted. We wanted Captain America. We wanted Spider-Man. We wanted Batman. Okay, because these were like heroes for us that we could imagine being, because we were also guys. We also wanted to save the day and get the girl. We also wanted to have the muscular bodies. We also wanted to, have the secret identity. That was our fantasies. So we were vicariously living through these characters. Okay, they were giving us what we wanted. That's why the superheroes always had the beautiful girlfriends. That's why they always were saving the world. Okay, that's why they had dual identities. That's why they had like these crazy jobs, like billionaires, or reporters, or or lawyers or stuff. They had these great professional secret identities because we fantasized about that stuff. We fantasized. I mean, those of us who were working at fucking McDonald's or some shit. We fantasized about being a lawyer during the day and a crime fighter at night. I mean, this was good stuff. And we loved it. We loved that stuff. So they were giving us what we wanted. So, unfortunately, there have been very successful female superheroes, okay, but it's not the majority, okay, and you could call it sexist. I would not call it sexist, okay, that the majority of comic book readers were men, okay, because men are just attracted to this. If women really, really loved superheroes as much as men, then women would be buying those comic books. It has nothing to do with there not being enough women or enough gay people in comic books. If people really like that stuff, they're going to spend their money on it. If they don't like that stuff, they're not going to spend their money on it, okay? So we had female superheroes like Wonder Woman, and stuff. Wonder Woman was probably the biggest one, and she had her heyday, especially in the 40s during World War II. She was very, very popular, okay? But like I said, it wasn't the majority of the people reading comic books were not women. Okay, they're just not attracted. I mean, we're talking about violence and crime, okay, and a lot of physical altercations, and a lot of like punching people and gunshots, and and just like saving the world. These are not typically things that girls are attracted to, so of course, especially the violence part of it, it's just not the kind of stuff that girls are really attracted to. You look at the stuff that girls like. They like more like romantic comedies and stuff. They like more things that have to do with style. Like for example, you can have a male character in a female genre as the main character. Like look at that show Lucifer. Okay, that's a comic book. Okay, but the guy that plays Lucifer on that show, I mean, he's all of his fans are. It's a guy. He's the main character. He's a guy. Okay, and he's and he fucks a lot. Well, he's an angel. He's the devil. Okay, but he owns a nightclub or something. I don't watch the show. Okay, but he seduces a lot of women. He fucks a lot of women. And women love it. It's mostly women that watch that show. Okay, why is that? Even though it's a male character, why is it? Because his genre caters towards women. He's not over here fighting bad guys and knocking out, secret identities. He's not doing that shit. Okay, that's a male fantasy. Okay, so and comic books are mostly, that's the stuff that keeps the lights on, or used to in the comic book industry, was the male fantasy stuff. Okay, that's why all they were doing is just giving the audience what they wanted. If women wanted their representation in a comic book, then they would spend their money on it, but they don't. They spend their money on other stuff, which is fine, they were trying to, they thought they had this idea that, the only reason that girls aren't reading comic books is because, or gay people aren't reading comic books, okay, is because we don't give them any LGBTQ representation. That's the only reason, okay? And it's not, okay? I don't care if the character's gay or not, okay? But you still got to give me what I want, all right? And Batwoman was an example of that. They brought back Batwoman. They made her a lesbian this time. And Kane, and I gotta be honest, I didn't really read the comic book. Okay, I read 52, which was a story in the mid 2000s. It came after Infinite Crisis. So those your comic books, that. And I read her story arc. I know how she fell in love with Renee Montoya, who was a lesbian cop who became the Question. I know that whole story. Okay, now she took over after Batman retired for a year, and she took over. So I kind of know who she is. All right, I did read that. Okay, but I was not an avid Batwoman reader. In fact, nobody was, to be honest with you. Nobody really read that comic book. It wasn't very interesting. The character wasn't very exciting. Okay, she was just there because they needed to have a gay superhero in the DC universe. They didn't really have one. Now you would think Wonder Woman, but Wonder Woman was heterosexual. Okay, which go figure. She grew up in an island of women. You would think she would have sex with women, but no. Apparently she's heterosexual. Okay, so they didn't really have any LGBTQ representation, so they created Batwoman. They basically took an old character that they weren't using for a long time and made her gay. Okay, and they threw that into the world, hoping that somebody would do it. Nobody really did it, so her comic book got canceled eventually after a while. But the sales were never very high because, nobody really cared about Batwoman, all right? So that was that, okay? Now let's fast forward to the CW, okay? Now, the Arrowverse started, I believe it was in 2012 or 2014, something like that. And I didn't watch it. I watched it a couple years later, and Arrow was a great show. I love Arrow. That was awesome. Stephen Amell did great. The writing was incredible. Now, the CW universe, they call it the Arrowverse because of Arrow, was the first show they did. That was Greg Berlanti. Okay, Greg Berlanti and this other producer named Andy Kreisberg. Okay, now Greg Berlanti was gay, openly gay. All right, but his partner Andy Kreisberg was heterosexual. He was straight. Okay, so you had these two different guys here that were basically writing. They were the showrunners. They were creating the show, producing it. They came up with all the scripts. They hired the people to write the scripts in accordance to their storyline. They hired the actors. They did all that kind of stuff, okay? And I got to tell you, the first season of Arrow was incredible, okay? They do not make shows like this anymore, okay? A straight guy who goes around fighting crime and just fucking a lot of women. Okay, I mean that's what he did. That's what he did like the first two seasons. Unbelievable. What really turned me on to the show Arrow was the fact that this guy was doing those things. You did not see a show where guys were doing this. You just didn't. At least not a show that was aimed towards men, towards boys, because that's the majority of the people that watch Arrow were guys, comic book guys. There'd never been an actor to play a live action Green Arrow ever. That never happened. This was the first time. Oh, well, sorry, it was in Smallville. Yeah, they had this other actor played him in Smallville, but it was a Superman show. Okay, this was a Green Arrow show. Okay, and they didn't call him Green Arrow until like much later on, which I like that too. But it was a very well written show. I liked it. I loved the acting. I loved the storylines. I would not be normally attracted to the character. I never thought Green Arrow was an incredible character. I thought he was boring. I always liked Hawkeye better, honestly, from the Avengers. I thought he was much more interesting than Oliver Queen was. But this show won me over on Green Arrow and on Oliver Queen, and I was like, this guy's cool, you know. And then they started getting woke with the girlfriend, you know, and now he's like basically simping for his girlfriend. He in the third season he loses his testicles, and he doesn't really get them back. Honestly, he's simping over his girlfriend. I can't do anything without her love. This is the guy who was basically the James Bond of the DC universe in the first 2 seasons, and now he's crying about his nerdy girlfriend that doesn't love him back. How can I fight crime when my heart is hurting? I need her back. You know, that bullshit, you know, unfortunately. And then it went back and forth. It wasn't always like that, okay? But it went back and forth. Then I know goddamn well it's Greg Berlanti, just to showing everybody how weak straight men are. You know, it's when he doesn't understand. Okay, so there was that, and they decided, and that was a big hit. So the next thing up in season 2, we were introduced to The Flash, and then The Flash, of course, got his own TV show, which was a huge success. Let me tell you, it was actually better than Arrow. I couldn't believe it. Those first 2 seasons of The Flash, some of the best TV I'd seen in a very, very long time. In fact, I would say the first 2 seasons of The Flash were probably the best superhero TV show I had ever seen until Daredevil came out a few years later. Okay, until the Netflix Daredevil show. Then that was the best superhero show I'd ever seen. I'm like, oh my God. But the point is that they were getting better. Okay, and then the next thing they came out with after that, after The Flash, was Legends of Tomorrow, or was it Supergirl? I think it was Supergirl. Okay, and Supergirl, I watched the first episode, and it was bullshit. I fucking hate it. I gave it a chance. I watched it, hoping to see something good. I did not see anything I liked. It was crap. The first episode was crap, and I decided I am not going to watch the show again. And then a few episodes down the line in the first season, this is back when Supergirl was on CBS. In the first season, I think it was episode 6 or 7, she had a team-up episode with The Flash. The Flash crossed over into her universe, okay? Because there were separate universes back then. I saw that episode because I was so addicted to The Flash. Like, if The Flash is going to show up on a different show, I will watch that different show just so I can see The Flash. And I did, and it fucking sucked. And it was still a piece of shit. The show did not get better at all. It was just woke fucking garbage. But I didn't care so much because all that meant to me was I'm just not going to watch the show. Okay, I'm not a huge Supergirl fan, never have been. I like the movie with Helen Slater from the 80s, but that's it. You know, I was never a big Supergirl fan. But I loved Arrow and I love The Flash, so I'm just going to stick to Arrow and The Flash because this Supergirl shit sucks, okay? And it did suck. It sucked. And that's all I saw of the show, honestly. I didn't really watch the show again. I think I watched it again when Superman, the actual Superman, showed up in season 2. That was not Superman. That was a super simp. He had absolutely no testicles. He had no penis. He was more feminine than Supergirl was. But we're not talking about that right now. Okay. Anyway, so that happened, and then they came out with Legends of Tomorrow, another spin-off show. And that show was actually the first 2 seasons of that were pretty good. It was about time. It was basically a superhero version of Doctor Who. Okay. You had these B-list characters, mostly from The Flash. Okay, characters from The Flash, these B-list villains, you know, they reunited Dominic Purcell and what's his name, and Wentworth Miller from Prison Break, which is another show I love, Prison Break. The 2 leads from Prison Break, they brought them back on The Flash as Heatwave and Captain Cold, okay? And then they moved them over to Legends of Tomorrow. So the first 2 seasons of that were pretty good. I actually liked the show. I thought it was pretty interesting. I never watched Doctor Who, but I liked this show, the time travel and stuff. You know, the villains were pretty good. They had Vandal Savage in the first season, and they had what's his name? They had a Reverse Flash as the main villain. Yes, the one from The Flash, they had him as the main villain in the second season, so I had to watch that, and that was actually pretty good. Okay, you had the first season's main villain from Arrow was there, and then the 4th season's main villain from Arrow teamed up with Reverse Flash, who was the main villain from the first season of Flash. They all teamed up together. It was great. It was great. I like that. Not every episode was good, but I like that. And then that show just went off a cliff. It became some woke fucking bullshit. So, of course, they announced Batwoman. Okay, they decided that we need another female-led superhero show, so they announced Batwoman. Okay, and this is what they gave us. Okay, they gave us Ruby Rose. Well, I think she's pretty. You know, I think she's pretty, and I got nothing against her. Okay, or the idea of having a Batwoman show. I actually wanted to give the show a chance. I said, okay, let's watch Batwoman. Let's see what she's all about. You know, I know very little about her. But maybe it's going to be a good show, you know. But then this all happened around the time of Me Too. This was 2017 when the whole Harvey Weinstein thing happened to me. Y'all remember Me Too from 5 years ago when all this fucking shit hit the fan and all these people started getting canceled, you know, and you know all the sexual harassment allegations, all that kind of shit. Well, the Me Too started right around then, okay, and one of the producers of the Arrowverse, not Greg Berlanti because he's gay, but Andy Kreisberg, the straight guy, he got fired. They let him go because apparently he had some allegations against him. Apparently he was sexually harassing some women on the show, behind the scenes, and I believe Katie Cassidy was one of them. That's David Cassidy's daughter. She had a major prominent role in Arrow. In fact, in the comic books, her character, Laurel Lance, or Dinah Lance in the comic books, was actually Oliver Queen, Green Arrow's girlfriend in the comic book, was Black Canary, who was Dinah Lance. In the show, they called her Laurel Dinah Lance, or Dinah Laurel Lance, and she used her middle name, but it's Dinah Lance, it's Black Canary from the comic book. Okay, and they killed her off in a season. I think it was because she was refusing Andy Kreisberg's advances. I think that's what happened. Okay, so she filed a complaint with HR, and then this was the era of Me Too, so everybody started complaining. He had more than one complaint, and so they let him go. They let Andy Kreisberg go. Okay, so he was the one guy who was heterosexual, loved comic books, and I'm not making an excuse for him. He needed to go. Okay, these allegations were true, and I think they probably were. Because when you're in a position of power and you're surrounded by beautiful women, it's very easy to abuse that authority, So I think it probably is true, but I don't know for sure. I really don't know for sure. But if he was doing it, then he get him the fuck out of there. I do not condone that behavior at all, ever. I never condone that behavior. Okay, so they got rid of him because of the complaints from HR about him. And then after they got rid of him, they brought Katie Cassidy back on the show. They rewrote her as an alternate version of her character. They didn't bring her back to life. But they rewrote her as an alternate universe version of that character. Okay, so yeah, it's TV. Okay, so that all happened, and when that happened, that's when the CW shows, the Arrowverse, got woke as fuck, and I mean that in the worst possible way. Okay, it just got too fucking woke. Everything became about identity politics. Everything became about LGBTQ rights. Everything became about how white men are all fucking pieces of shit. Straight white men are all pieces of shit. They're all Nazis. They're all homophobic. They're all racist, and the only good people in the world are feminists, gay people, lesbians, trans, people of color, which means black. Those are all virtuous, okay? But white people are always bad. You started noticing that all the straight white people were all stupid, they were all evil, or they were all cowards, or a combination of those three. Okay, every single bad character was that. Okay, and that's what they started moving forward. Okay, putting down white people. All people are racist. All white people are racist. All white men are sexist. All white men are homophobic. They just went with that narrative. Okay, and they, of course, they didn't tell you that, but they told you without telling you, and that's what all the shows did. And once I started seeing that on the shows, Arrow, they tried to get away with some of that, and they did put some of that in there. Like you notice, like Team Arrow always had you got one Hispanic, one black guy, one gay person, one Asian, one, and just in real life, we don't form friends that way. Okay, that's just not realistic, But all the shows had that. The Flash had that. You had the one Mexican guy, you had the one gay guy or lesbian girl, you had the one older, wiser leader. You had the interracial relationship, which you had to have. You had the, it was dumb, And then all the shows were a little bit woke. I mean, they race swapped characters on there. I mean, Iris West, come on, man. They made Barry Allen's wife black on the show. Okay, they kept the character the same from the comic books, but they turned her black for no other reason than, we gotta have a black person on the show, like that's just fucking stupid. Okay, but that's what they did. Okay, and that's what the show was doing. Okay, so when Batwoman came out, I was afraid that that's what they were going to get hit with, some more of this. We already did not like it. All the show's ratings were starting to go down. Okay, we already did not like it, especially Legends of Tomorrow. Oh my God, that show just turned into nothing but fucking all white men are bad, or all white men are cowards. All white men are stupid. I mean, fucking idiots. They're all weak. You've got these women that are all 90 pounds, and they barely brush their fist against a 300-pound, 6'4" guy, and he's fucking knocked out, even though he's got a fucking helmet on. He's fucking knocked out. I'm talking ass in the air, tongue sticking out, knocked out. Okay, by one little measly little glance, and it wasn't even like, it looked like a real fight, it looked like a fucking dance, but it was dumb. Okay, and I got tired of seeing that over and over again. This is stupid. Okay, it's just fucking, it's not believable. Okay, but that's what Batwoman was. I mean, come on, Ruby Rose, what 90 pounds, maybe 100 pounds. She's not threatening. Her character has no superpowers, so of course, and she's probably, looking at her, I'm guessing she's probably 5'4", 5'5" at most. I didn't look up Ruby Rose's stats, but I'm pretty sure she's like She's no bigger than 5'7". That's fucking sure. And that's with heels. I'm guessing she's like 5'5". Okay, when she punches a man who is 235 pounds and 6'2", he's knocked out immediately. And that's just not believable. Okay, that she could so easily do that. All right, and that's what Batwoman was. Okay, she showed up there. She had no training. I mean, she had military training. Okay, but so she knew how to fight. Okay, she was not a detective. Okay, she was not trained for that. She was just this lesbian girl. Batman disappeared. We don't know what happened to him. We don't know why he's not in Gotham City. He just abandoned the city. Nobody knows why. Nobody really wants to know why. Nobody researches that. Nobody talks about where did Bruce Wayne go? How come he disappeared at the same time Batman disappeared? Nobody knows, but there's absolutely nobody running Wayne Enterprises. That's the billion-dollar company, the multi-billion-dollar company that Bruce Wayne owns. Nobody's running it. You've got some fucking intern guy, basically, who's turning the lights on every day, but who's fucking in charge of that company? Nobody. We don't know who the fuck's in charge of Wayne Enterprises. Kane just shows up out of the blue after getting kicked out of the military, okay, because of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which is bullshit. Because this show aired in 2017, 2019. Okay, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell got repealed like fucking 15 years ago. Okay, I know, I was in the military. I know it's not a thing anymore. It hasn't been a thing for a very long time. You do not get kicked out of the military if you're gay. That does not happen anymore. Okay, but that's what happened to her. Okay, so like I said, they're rewriting history to make it look like she's a member of an oppressed class, and she's not. The honest God truth is nobody gives a shit if you're straight or gay. Nobody cares about that. Okay, the only people who care about it are people like this, people who write these shows. Okay, because they want to portray themselves as oppressed. That way, it's more heroic when they beat up a straight white guy. It's like, yeah, But it's still fucking bullshit. You don't stop hate by creating more hate, and that's what the show was doing. Okay, and I picked up on that really quick. Now I gave the show a chance. Okay, I gave the show a chance, and all it really was just a bunch of woke identity politics. It was about lesbians. Gay guys are good. Straight people are bad. Interracial relationships are the normal. That's the right thing. But same race relationships are bad. That just means that you're racist because you won't date outside of your race. That's what it means. That's the message they're telling you. Okay, they're telling women are stronger than men. Okay, women are smarter than men. Okay, anyone who if you're a bad guy and you're a straight white guy, which all the bad guys are straight white guys on the show, okay, then they get beat up easily. They're all cowards. They're all evil. They're all stupid. Okay, or a combination of all of those three. Okay, they all get easily defeated in one episode for the most part. Okay, if not, then it'll take a season. But the point is that it's a straight white guy. They're always the bad guys. Okay, the dad, Kathy Kane's dad, he's the head of this a private police force that Gotham City uses. And of course he's a straight white guy. Okay, because he's the father of Kate Kane, and this guy they play him off as he's just some tough, gruff, like drill sergeant leader. He's super rich too. Some drill sergeant leader of this private security firm, police force, and he's barking orders like he's in a military movie, like he's some fucking anti-terrorist tactical unit. He's always screaming. He's always talking, yes, and we're going to catch these people. All right. You go over there. You go over there. You come with me. I want to sit rep in 2 seconds. Move. He acts that way, okay? He's always acting that way, okay? It's Douglas Scott is the actor that plays him, okay? He's always acting that way on the show, okay? But I kept laughing after probably the 4th or 5th episode. I kept laughing every time he acted that way. And he acted that way in every episode. And the reason I kept laughing is because here's this guy who's supposed to be the head of this multi-million-dollar private security firm in Gotham City. This guy is not aware that his daughter's a lesbian. He's not aware that his second in command is his daughter's former lover. He's not aware that he's got moles and evil people working for him, okay? He's not aware that his daughter is the main, his other daughter, Kate Kane's sister, Beth, is the main villain. He's not aware that his daughter did not die 15 years ago. He's not aware that his wife faked the DNA results to show that his daughter had died. He didn't know that. This fucker doesn't know shit. He doesn't know a goddamn thing. But he acts all tough and gruff and it's like, dude, there's like every fucking person has got like 12 secrets they're keeping from you and you have no idea what's going on. And we're supposed to take you seriously. Like, how did you fucking get this job? Anyway, so it's all the bullshit. Of course, once Batwoman, no man can beat her up in a fight. She kicks everyone's ass. The only time she ever struggled fighting when it was with another woman. Okay. Also, the villains. Whenever she fights a villain who's part of the LGBTQ community, she always lets her go. No, no, you ain't going to jail. Just learn from your mistakes, and be better next time. There's an episode they do where she goes totally out of her way to make sure that everybody knows that she is a lesbian. Okay, like she actually does like a photo shoot for a magazine and they interview her. And it says, yep, I'm gay. like the Ellen DeGeneres Time magazine, from the 90s. Yeah, she does one of those. Okay, if you have a secret identity, okay, you don't want to tell people. You think Batman promoted his sexuality? No, you know why? Because he doesn't want people to know who the fuck he is. Okay, nope, I'm a lesbian, and it's important that you know that. Come on, this is fucking stupid. Okay, and there's just so much going on here. The characters were annoying. Her Asian stepsister's fucking Mary. She's completely annoying as fuck. She's not even a doctor. She's going to medical. We never see her go to class, but apparently she's going to medical school. But she set up this private abortion. This private underground like ER. So she can treat people that don't have insurance. She's not a doctor. She's treating bullet wounds, head injuries. People going into toxic shock. Like they all bring them there, and she treats them for free. She's not a doctor. She doesn't have the medical qualifications to squeeze a fucking pimple, but she's the one saving everyone's life. Gunshot wound, no problem. Yes, that's like. Oh yeah, her dad doesn't know she's doing this. Once again, another thing Jacob Kane doesn't know. Excuse me, okay. And I'm just talking about the first season here. The main bad guy of the season is Beth. That's Kate Kane's twin sister that she thought was dead. She's turned evil because she was held hostage by this evil family. And now she's basically the Joker. She's Alice in Wonderland. She calls herself Alice, And I will say this about the show, okay? It wasn't all bad. If you really want to know about the show, you need to watch the reviews. This guy named Thorius Unlimited on YouTube and As Heels Babyface, they reviewed every fucking episode of this show. The way I do with Sex and the City, they did that with Batwoman, okay? And their reviews are a hell of a lot better than the show was. Just watch the reviews, okay? But I've seen every episode of Batwoman, like all 3 seasons. And yeah, I always watch the review. I watched it. I hate watch the show so I can watch their reviews like the next day or a couple of days later. Okay, but getting back to Elizabeth Beth Kane, Alice is the main bad guy. She's actually the overall bad guy throughout all the seasons of the show. I will say this: Rachel Sarsgaard, the actress that plays Beth, that plays Alice on the show, she is a very, very talented actress. Okay, she is much better than the show deserves. Okay, she's the only good thing on the show, to be honest with you. She's the only one that's having fun. She's the only one that's giving it 110%. She's the only one that acts like she gives a shit about her character. She's the only one that acts like she's acting, like she is this character. Okay, and she does the best she can, and she does elevate the dialogue. It's a horribly written show. She elevates the dialogue. She looks like she's having fun. She's having a ball. You can't take your eyes off of her when she commands the screen every single time you see her. Okay, fuck Batwoman. You don't even pay attention to Batwoman anymore. Batwoman can't fucking act to save her fucking life. But when Beth is on screen, you are watching her. Okay, you want to see what she's going to do next. She's that good. This girl is really talented. It's not the first time she's played a comic book character. She actually played Black Canary in the Birds of Prey TV show from the early 2000s. You remember that? That's when they had Helena Wayne and Barbara Gordon, was Oracle. Yeah. Okay. She actually played Black Canary in that show, but now she plays Alice in this show. Okay. And she steals it. She steals the show completely. The show is horribly written. It's a piece of shit. I fucking hated it, but I couldn't stop watching it. It was so fucking bad that it was good for me. It's like watching Plan 9 from outer space. This show is such fucking bullshit. Okay, it's a horrible, horrible, worst fucking superhero show I've ever seen in my entire life. But because it is so bad, it has reached such a level of being bad that it's actually kind of fun to watch. Okay, it's fun to laugh at the impossibilities, okay, the plot holes, the go nowhere storylines, the racism, because it is racist as fuck. They hate white people on the show. The homophobia, the heterophobia. Okay, they hate straight people on the show. Straight people are all bad or stupid or worthless. Okay, or evil. Okay, or dumb. Okay, the racism, the heterophobia, um, all of it, all of it. The sexism. Men are bad, women are good. Okay, unless you're gay. If you're gay, then you're good. But if you're not gay, then you're bad. Like all that kind of shit. That's all the show was. Okay, if you look, the evil people are always straight white guys. The good guys are always black women or black men. Okay, all the males on the show are beta males. They have no courage. They need a pep talk from some strong, independent woman, to motivate them to do anything. I mean, it's just a fucking terrible show all the way around. They fired Ruby Rose after the end of they had to shut production because of COVID, okay? And they fired her, so they didn't do all 22 episodes. I think they only got like 21 episodes out of it, and they had to pull the plug on the show because of COVID. But when they restarted filming again, they had fired Ruby Rose, the star of the show. They fired her. Now, you would think that if the main character of your show gets fired, that's the end of the show, right? Like, or you either recast her with a different actress to play her, or you just get rid of the show. Well, they didn't do either one. What they did is they cast a brand new character who had never existed in the comic books, a black woman, because she had to be black, okay, and she just happens to be lesbian too. Because if you're Batwoman, you have to be a lesbian, okay? Because all the Batwomen are lesbians, right? You have to be lesbian, so of course she's a lesbian, and she's black, and they brought her back as that character. And she did no training; she was just a martial arts character, and she became the new Batwoman, and we were supposed to believe that this is gonna save everything. That show fucking sucked. We found out about her mom was nothing. Her mom was Robin Givens. We find that out. She's an orphan, of course she is. Okay, we find her mom is Robin Givens. We never, ever, ever find out who her biological father is. Nobody ever asked that question. Nobody gives a shit about that question. Okay, and basically it's the same shit I just said before, only with a black lesbian instead of a white lesbian. Okay, we don't really see Kane again. She's recast for a couple of episodes, and then she leaves the fucking show. Jacob Kane's character, he left the fucking show. No real explanation. No follow up on him. Alice stayed there, even though every main character of the show is gone now. Alice stayed there, even though she's not biologically related to any characters on the show now. She's still on the show, but they try to make her a good guy now, despite the fact that she killed all these innocent people in the other two seasons. It shows a piece of shit. Okay, and I'm glad it's fucking gone. All right, and I think it's a win for us. I think it's a win for the go woke, go broke. Okay, this shit's got to fucking end. All right, we've had enough of it, and the people are just gonna rise up and put it down. Okay, I think racism is bad. Okay, and you can be racist. Okay, and think that you're not. Okay, I think racism is bad. I think heterophobia is bad. I think sexism is bad. Okay, I think hating men is bad. I think hating women is bad. Okay, and that this show's just full of that shit. It's full of it, and they try to play it off like, oh, well, no, it's just you. If you can't handle it, no, you don't treat people this way. Nobody should be treated this way. It doesn't matter what fucking color you are. See, I don't see color. I don't care about your fucking color. Okay, I care about who you are, what kind of person you are. This show does not do this. This show cannot see past your sexuality. They cannot see past your color, your skin. They cannot see past what's in between your legs. Okay, so a show like that, that's not what people want, and that's a show that's fucking gonna get canned. The ratings in the show were completely horrible. For the past 3 seasons, they steadily got worse. They're one of the worst rated shows ever. Any normal network would have gotten rid of it. Why do you think the CW is bankrupt now? They're trying to sell out the company now. Okay, well, the new owners of Warner Brothers are saying that they fucking canceled Batwoman. Finally, thank fucking God it's gone. Okay, they canceled Legends of Tomorrow too. The only show that's left now is The Flash and like Stargirl and Superman and Lois. And those shows are pretty good. The Flash not so much anymore. It's gone to shit. But Stargirl was pretty good, and Superman and Lois is probably the best superhero show on television right now. Okay, but yeah, thank God Batwoman's gone. That show fucking sucked ass. Okay, completely, and I fucking hated it. Like I said, I hate watched it. It was a terrible show. It was nothing about identity politics, nothing about showing off how racist they are and how sexist they are, and how heterophobic they are. Okay, and I'm glad that show's fucking done. And I hope these guys, Greg Berlanti and the rest of his crew, I hope they never fucking work in TV again. But then again,